Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. And today in this video, I want to look at the chart of Lana Del Rey, singer. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget about my class on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, US. Cost is $15, $10 if you need to pay less. And if you still want to come but can't, but have major budget problems, which some people do, I understand that, let me know in the email. But if you want to come, just email me, macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And it'll be great fun. We'll talk about astrology and stuff. All right. And if you can't make it this week, I'm going to try and do them every single week. All right. Lana Del Rey. I mean, just my personal opinion, I don't really listen to her music. I think somebody played me one of her songs, Young and Beautiful. And, I'm not really into the whole pop scene, pop music, but Lana Del Rey is certainly an outlier. She's unique. She's kind of mysterious. And yeah, let's look at it. All right. She was born Elizabeth Woolridge Grant. American singer-songwriter. Noted, her music is noted for cinematic and exploration of tragic romance, glamour, melancholia, with frequent references to contemporary pop culture, 1950s and 60s Americana. She's recipient of various accolades, including 2 Brit Awards, 2 MTV Europe Music Awards, and a Satellite Award, 6 Grammy nominations, a Golden Globe Award. She was honored at Variety's Hitmaker Awards for being one of the most influential singer-songwriters of the 21st century. Let's see. She pursued a music career in New York City in 2005 after numerous projects, including a self-titled debut studio album. She had a breakthrough in 2011 with viral success of her single Video Games. She signed a record contract with Polydor and Interscope. She achieved critical and commercial success with her second album, Born to Die, which contained the sleeper hit Summertime Sadness. Third album, Ultraviolence, blah, blah, blah. US Billboard 200. Her fourth and fifth album, Honeymoon and Lust for Life. A lot of albums. Saw a return of Slick and her critical acclaim, Norman fucking Rockwell. Her next studio album, Chemtrails Over the Country Club and Blue Banisters, followed in 2021. I like that she's talking about chemtrails because that's real. And she made a musical short, Tropico, released Young and Beautiful for the romantic drama, Great Gatsby. And that's the song I know. Let's see. Then she did other stuff. All right. I'm just gonna try and speed through this. Let's see. She's born in New York, moved to somewhere else in New York. When I was very young, I was floored by the fact that my mother and father and everyone I knew was going to die one day, myself too. I had a sort of philosophical crisis. I couldn't believe that we were mortal. For some reason, that knowledge sort of overshadowed my experience. I was unhappy for some time. I got into a lot of trouble. I used to drink a lot. That was a hard time in my life. But yeah, she was an alcoholic at a very young age. Or supposedly, at least she drank a lot. I mean, it's really tough to say that any teenager is an alcoholic. Every teenager likes to drink. Well, not every teenager. A lot of teenagers like to drink, and so she drank excessively as a teenager. Let's see. She played guitar and she wrote songs, and she performed under the name Sparkle Jump Rope Queen or Lizzie Grant and the Phenomenon. Okay. Sparkle Jump Rope Queen. That's a great name. No, it's funny. Let's see. She went to college, majored in philosophy and with an emphasis on metaphysics. And she chose that because it bridged the gap between God and science. I was interested in God and how technology could bring us closer to finding out where we came from and why. And this is all relevant. That's why I'm mentioning it. When we look at the astrology, it'll make sense. Let's see. And she went into music and she got a contract, and then she released, demo or 3-track EP, Kill Kill, Kill Kill. Okay, Del Rey was doing community outreach work for homeless individuals and drug addicts. She had become interested in community service work in college when she helped paint homes in Indian Reservation in Utah. Let's see. She chose her name because of actress Lana Turner and Ford Del Rey sedan. Okay. She produced a self-titled debut album, and then she bought the rights from it and pulled it off the shelves, drawing it to, maybe re-release it or something like that. She acted in a short film. Her breakthrough came from Born to Die in Paradise, and she had a hit song, Video Games, in which she made the video for. And let's see what else. And then, it got acclaimed, and she got, a name for herself. And she was always facing a lot of criticism, both for her changing her name, which is, it's like everyone does it, but of course she's going to face criticism, and we'll see why. Then she performed on Saturday Night Live, and it was heavily criticized, and she was very nervous. We'll look at that. That makes sense too. And then she just kept making lots of music and had lots of boyfriends. And is criticized for being an anti-feminist, which I'm personally okay with, because feminism is largely, it's not that it's not doesn't have organic roots, it's that it's co-opted by the CIA and channeled to push forward a narrative. It's part of the CIA, Illuminati, cultural Marxism, to change society and steer it. So that's the kind of thing you have to be aware of. They co-opt everything. Nothing's pure, nothing's innocent, nothing's really organic anymore. It's all corrupt and tainted. And so feminism is no different. I mean, there's no real pure feminism anymore. It's all distorted and has hidden agendas behind it. In any case, she kept making songs and albums, and Ultra Violence is one of her songs. She's, the kind of dark, eerie kind of quality. Lust for Life, Norman fucking Rockwell. It's like weird. Hilarious. I mean, it's supposed to be edgy, but like, why? Why Norman Rockwell? Why Norm? It's just funny. It's making me laugh. I'm not criticizing her for that. I criticize her for other things, not for that. That's just funny. And that had high acclaim. It was the critics loved it and whatnot. Okay. And then she released a poetry collection, and then she's been involved in various different things, movies, and I don't know what, just all different stuff. And she has another album coming out. She's very prolific. And she faced a lot of criticism. Like I said, the whole feminism thing, she's sort of like, some of her videos seem to celebrate prostitution or violence towards women or stuff like that. Or like, she apparently sleeps around or just has a lot of boyfriends or whatever. I don't care really. It's probably, you know, I can make sense of it in astrology. So, and then she's very critical of Trump, but praises Biden. And then, so I'm going to criticize her for that. She's an idiot. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. So, I mean, not that, you know, nobody should criticize Trump. It's just that Biden is a criminal and he's destroying this country. And Trump, at least for all his faults, loved this country and did not want to destroy it. Biden does, and he actively is. And if you don't believe me, just wait, you'll see it. He's destroying this country, and that's not hyperbole or rhetoric. It's the facts. Anyway, let's go over to her astrology. Scorpio ascendant, and that makes total sense because you know, she's got that scorpionic quality. I don't know why I went here first. Let's look at her sun. Sun in Cancer, and it's in the 8th quadrant. So she's got that dark, mysterious quality. And 8th house is, especially sun, 8th house sun is going to face a lot of criticism. I mean, I have an 8th house sun. In fact, it's not too different from my chart. Mine's in Gemini, but in any case, but this is pulling in a little bit of 9th house quality as well, because Cancer. And the reason we can see that is that she went to study philosophy and metaphysics, and she said she wanted to bridge God and science. And the 8th house is not really about science, but it is about research, so it does lend itself to science. 8th house is, or Scorpio is, you find scorpionic scientists, Scorpio, like heavy Scorpio scientists, because it's all about digging deep and finding out how things work. You know, it's like how things, you know, what makes things tick, what makes things click, right? Like, you know, taking apart a clock and, like, you know, like understanding the inner, you know, or like psychology, like, you know, peering behind somebody's, you know, reasons for doing things like that, right? So she's bridging 8th and 9th house. If it was pure 8th house, it'd be even a lot more difficult for her, because, you know, it's just more hidden, and it's harder to you know, be a celebrity in the sense that she's trying to be, where she's in front of the camera and, you know, lights and glamour and all that. Of course, she's got her moon in Leo, and that helps tremendously, right? Moon in Leo, 10th house, well, 10th whole sign house. It's still 9th, pulling in some 9th house. So philosophy and God and religion and higher education, that's still going to be in you know, something that she's interested in, because she's spanning the gap between 8th and 9th house and 10th with the moon. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Sun in Cancer is that dark, moody, emotional thing, especially when it's, you know, Scorpio ascendant, so it's water, right? So she's pulling in a lot of water. 8th house Cancer with the Scorpio ascendant. Then her Sun's conjunct Mars, and Sun conjunct Mars just on its own is not bad, right? Because Sun is exalted in Mars sign of Aries. So this helps the Sun really move, be active, not be lazy, right? And already she's like, what, 9 studio albums, and like I don't know how many years, like almost like an album a year almost, right? Like, she's busy, she's doing a lot, she's not sleeping, right? She's like, she's getting busy with music and men, right? That's pretty much Lana Del Rey. So that's not bad, right? But Mars is debilitated in Cancer, and it's her ascendant lord. And Mars in Cancer is 2 things. It's hypersexual, and potentially, I'm not going to say that everyone who has a Mars in Cancer is going to be hypersexual, but it's also potentially violent, and she glorifies and glamorizes both those things. It's her over sexuality, hypersexuality, and violence as well, right? And we can see that here with Mars in Cancer. And again, it's not to say that everyone with Mars in Cancer is going to be either of those things, but Mars in Cancer does lack dignity. It is opposite its exaltation in Capricorn, where it gains tremendous self-control. You know, Mars in Capricorn is a Mars that trains and is extremely dangerous, but for good causes, right? They'll be like the protector, right? You know, somebody who's extremely skilled with their Martian energy, but will use it in a good way, right? Mars in Cancer is the opposite. Overt sexuality, violence that is uncontrolled, things like that, right? Where Mars is just like it's overly emotion, it's ruled by emotions. And Mars is aggression and sexuality, especially with a strong Scorpio ascendant like this. This is like she's overtly sexual. And there's other things that point to that as well, which we'll look at. It's in the 8th and 9th houses. She's like oozing like this feminine sexuality. Cancer is very feminine. It's just like pouring out of her, and that's one of her charms, mysticism, and even like witchcraft is very. And she mentions that in the Wikipedia about like she tried to do like a witch curse, like witchcraft curse, magic curse on Trump or something like that. So she's into that like dark occultism, definitely, with the Scorpio ascendant, 3 planets in Cancer, 8th house, moving to the 9th house. Mercury's probably more 9th house than 8th, but definitely Sun is pulling in a lot of 8th house qualities, Mars mixed in between. So she has that deep occultic kind of quality. Mars also ruling the 6th house, so a lot of aggressive competition, conflict, making enemies, because it's applying to her Sun, so her ego, her personality, her stage presence. And the Sun, of course, is the thing that people are relating to. It's much more than the ascendant. The ascendant, yeah, for physicality, but as far as like what people really see on the stage, in the public image, the public eye, it's mostly the Sun, right? That's what shines, right? And if you have a more personal relationship, you'll see her moon, you'll get to know her moon and her ascendant more. I mean, ascendant is pretty physical, so you'll see that in her body, but like it's more than physical. The ascendant is also like the deep personal self, right? So she appears very scorpionic and Cancerian, and shines in a Cancerian 8th house way, very watery, extremely emotional and deep and mysterious and prone to criticism, because there's that ego death element. But Mars is, Mars ruling the 6th. It's also a hardworking Mars, an aggressive Mars. Scorpio Mars, as it relates to Scorpio, is deep and intense. And the 6th house Aries is it's a go-getter, because it's a hardworking house, but a fighter as well. Yeah. So don't piss her off, especially if she has a drink. She'll probably throw the bottle at your head and laugh at you bleeding, something like that. I mean, Sid Vicious had Mars in Cancer, and he was pretty violent. Mercury's in Cancer. Mercury's ruling the 8th house and the 11th house. So yeah, social issues and bridging the psychology, the science, psychology, the inner working of things. 8th house Gemini is very curious about, obviously things like astrology. She probably likes astrology. She's probably at least open to it and into it. But with the God, 9th house philosophy, stuff like that. However, there is this harsh aspect to Jupiter. So this is not a great aspect, even though Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So it's helping this Mercury a lot. Intellectually, I think she's probably good. I think this Jupiter, however, is strained. She's probably prone to depression, and philosophically, there's some things that obviously she's not really very aware of, which would be an 11th house thing. So it's her smaller mind, the Mercurial mind and the Jupiterian mind, the small mind and the large mind are kind of not meeting together. So she's not putting 2 and 2 together in certain things, right? Obviously not aware of social politics, things like that, in a very clear way. Um, our moon is ruling the ninth house in the ninth quadrant, but 10th whole sign house. But there's a mutual reception here between sun and moon, and that's quite good. Not by degree, but by sign. So it's still, benefiting each other. That's benefiting her sun and her moon, and she's very proud, very confident, even if it's like on the surface it's not as apparent, and that's probably more to Saturn, which we'll look at. But she feels strongly about her own abilities with this very strong moon in Leo. Moon in Leo is very proud, very confident. It just you can't keep these people down. And she's apparently in good terms with her own weirdness, which is represented by this Chiron sextile to the moon, right? And the moon is the inner emotions, what satisfies, emotional satisfaction. So she's not, in other words, like if she comes off weird, she's like perfectly fine with that. Like it's not bothering her at all. It's not wounding her emotionality. It's not, dissatisfying her. It's not a point of pain for her. And she does have that certain kind of weirdness with the Chiron here. It's still, it's still going to be evident. It's not fully in the 8th house. It's the 8th house, but it's still an element of weirdness that's coming through, right? But not very strongly, just a little bit. Yeah, and this Mars in Mars, Scorpio ascendant, Mars conjunct the Sun, Mars in Cancer, 8th house. That's what I mean. That's pulling in that dark theme, that kill, ultra violence. Norman fucking Rockwell, that sort of thing. It's like dark brooding. I mean, also the Scorpio ascendant with Pluto and Scorpio, 12th house, but I mean it's within range of the 1st house. So this Pluto is still, she's pretty destructive, I would say, potentially, right? Strong Scorpio energy. Definitely don't try and control her. She wants to have the range. She's probably very manipulative. Very confident. South Node conjunct the ascendant is very confident, and this is actually the same combination when South Node is conjunct the ascendant as Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison, and a whole lot of other people, but those two specifically. And what happens when they're young? They sleep around with tons of people. That's why I said, like, it doesn't bother me, because I know that that's what's going on here. It's basically, if she can withstand her own destructive nature, which the nodes conjunct the ascendant descendant will create a lot of destructive qualities in the people. She lives long enough, which she probably will. She's going to be devoted, very devoted to. Well, with Venus here, it's difficult to say, but at least, Venus in the 7th is very flirty, right? Especially in Taurus. Venus in Taurus is beautiful, tremendously beautiful, and artistic and creative and feminine. So eventually she's going to be more devoted to at least one person, right? It could be more than one, but at least one person. But while she's young, and she's not that young anymore, 1985. So what is she? I guess she'll be 40 in 2025, right? So now she's in her upper 30s. So this North Node is starting to become activated, but it's not fully activated. But South Node conjunct Saturn, and Saturn's in Scorpio. So this is a very heavy duty Saturn. It's especially when young, it's bringing a lot of fear, trepidation, and nervousness. And that's why, like, unlike the SNL performance where she was heavily criticized. Yeah, I mean, I don't fault her for that at all. It's Scorpio, eighth house, especially with Saturn in Scorpio. It's there's a lot of hidden energy there. It wants to hide, it's fearful, it doesn't like the limelight, even though she's like, part of her wants, she is pulling into the limelight, especially with her moon, but the ninth house sun kind of also, and sun is ruling the MC. So there is that pull, but there's a struggle with her. There's a lot of fear and nervousness and wanting to hide and inside her shell. And that's kind of like an endearing quality when you get over it, when you're not like, like you have all these bubblegum performers who just like feel kind of soulless, and they get on stage and they're all super confident and they do their generic little ditties dancing around, and they look like robots. At least she has a soul and she's a real person, and despite my criticisms of her politics, which she is an idiot about that, she has a lot of depth and dimension, and that's kind of something that gives her some credibility and credence. Scorpio, eighth house, gives cred, right? That's like, you've seen some shit with Scorpio, because it brings you into the depths of Hades, right? In your life experience, it's very, very deep and intense. Saturn is bringing in third and fourth house, so from a young age, right? From a young age, fourth house, she's going to be somebody who has a lot of iconic qualities. And third house would be expression, poetry, spoken word. She does that sort of thing as well, right? And her music, I have to say, like, it's not bubblegum. It's not overt, even though it tends towards pop, it's not sickeningly sweet, candy, ridiculous. There's some dimension and depth to it, right? So, okay. I don't listen to it. It's not my thing, but there's something there. You got to give her that, right? Let's see. Venus is ruling the 7th and the 12th. So, bring a lot of creative ability to her personal relationships, but also just like stage presence, 7th house. It's also a very good house to reach the masses. So bringing a lot of artistic creativity and beauty. So definitely good for music, movies, stage presence, performance. Lilith is also conjunct Venus, and Lilith is that female sexuality, that taboo, overtly sexual symbol, right? Lilith often creates issues around, it doesn't always create a sex symbol, I'll be honest, but it can, right? But it does create issues around sexuality, and often somewhat negative sometimes, right? There can be like negative vibes with the female sexuality, right? And sometimes with male sexuality too, right? Okay. Jupiter is in the third quadrant, fourth, moving into the fourth, but it's square the nodes. There's a lot of tension here with Jupiter. Jupiter's ruling the second and fifth. So second for voice, fifth for creativity, romance, arts, performance, being on stage, fun and games. So there's certainly a lot that she has to deal with, that she has to face around this Jupiter. Excuse me. So it's bringing in the singing. It's tied into this Uranus. There's a sextile, very tight sextile between Uranus and Jupiter. And there's also a kind of mutual reception here, because Jupiter rules Sag. Uranus is the co-ruler of Aquarius, right? So second and fourth house, third, fourth, right? Second, third, fourth, switch, energy transfer. And so fourth house would be a very emotional house, also like bringing in a lot of physicality, home stuff, early childhood, but third house as well, expression, writing, communication. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good combination here, especially for voice. Her voice is unusual, unique, kind of deep, and I think that's probably more than Neptune and Capricorn than Uranus in Sag. Uranus and Sag is pretty wild and doesn't. It's not very deep because it's I don't know. It's just big and expansive and crazy and like wonderful for like story writing, and it's kind of epic. Uranus and Sag, it's like Star Wars. No, Neptune and Sag is more like Star Wars. Uranus and Sag is like rock and roll, big hair. Anyway, Neptune and Capricorn, it does have like a very deep vibe to it, and I think her, you know, this that's contributing to like the depth in her voice, the huskiness. It's the Capricornian earthiness. Let's see, Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius is actually has a really good sense of humor, and that might play into like, you know, her lightness with her darkness, you know, so like willingness to go, because, you know, humor is wonderful because humor allows us to be light about things. And so Jupiter in Aquarius provides a lot of lightness and, you know, unique brilliance. Kind of a lot of comedians have Jupiter in Aquarius. So there is a lot of humor, even though she's dark and like mysterious, she's probably like laughing to herself and just like, all right, hold it together. We're gonna pull off this dark, moody, broody kind of thing. And we're, you know, there's a fun element. I'm telling you, she's laughing. She's laughing on the inside, even if it doesn't show. Yeah, we already talked about the in conjunct to Aquarius or Mercury. Right, and Jupiter is, you know, helping this Mercury. So I think she's probably pretty intelligent, but she's missing a few bridges there with her social awareness, right? But yeah, she has to face this second house, voice, confidence, security, self-worth. That's all going to be very important to her, you know, for throughout her life, because South Node is square to Jupiter, North Node is square Jupiter. It's always going to be a point of tension, something that she has to focus on, she has to deal with. There's a lot of difficult. The only good aspect between Jupiter is to Uranus, and that is a good one because Uranus, Aquarius, Jupiter, and Sag. Right. So her second house is pretty good. Right. Fourth house is also pretty good too. Right? Good childhood, generally speaking. Of course, Scorpio brings difficulty, you know, no matter what, usually. And so like drinking problems, destructiveness, destructive tendencies. Saturn really requires a lot of age for, you know, maturity. Of course, South Node Saturn will mature a lot quicker, but still. Let's see. Yeah, this as she gets older, there's going to be issues around her body, around you know, especially because Mars is the ascendant lord, main ascendant lord, is debilitated, and so already you can tell, like I suspected this, so I was looking at modern like recent photos of her waking. And not that everyone with an ascendant lord in poor dignity is going to get fat. That's not it. It's that they can, and that the body does suffer either from poor health or some sort of weakness. So waking, right? And definitely we already see that. And South Node conjunct the ascendant also is going to contribute to that. Jupiter square the ascendant also. Let's see, Jupiter in conjunct or sesqui square the sun. I mean, the sun is not necessarily, as the sun's vitality. So, I mean, Jupiter is a planet of excess. So Jupiter with all these, you know, difficult aspects is going to make it more excessive. Jupiter square Venus, right? Very indulgent. It could be like a sweet tooth or a love of fatty foods. Jupiter's ruling the second house of food, right? Food, the mouth. Uranus is extreme. So Venus, let's see, the seventh house, right? Okay. Jupiter, whoever her partner is, it's going to be square Jupiter. So definitely some issues there with excess, exaggeration, excessive flirting, excessive love of relationships, right? Interesting. Pluto's got a nice trine to the sun. That's quite good. Pluto is in Scorpio, so she's very, she has a lot of this watery quality, obviously. Pluto also has a nice sextile perfect to Neptune. And that is generational. That's not very personal, but it does give a good representation of the times. She can be a good sort of like icon of an era. If the outer planets are in harmony, then the person represents a harmonious. You're born during something harmonious at that time, right? So they can represent that in their personality. And Scorpio is the co-ruler. Pluto is the co-ruler of Scorpio, so that's in good dignity here. And this Neptune's second house, so this is probably healthy, good for her voice. Let's see here. Neptune opposite Uranus. Just say stuff sometimes. Sun. Neptune opposite Sun is a very creative aspect, but also delusional, prone to fantasy, drugs, alcohol. People can take advantage of her with this, lie, deceive her. Neptune in the second is not good for money, finances. She can waste all her money. She can just give it all away. Yeah. So I don't want to take too long because I have an engagement that I have to attend to. So I'm going to try and wrap it up here. All right. Her draconic is actually pretty interesting. Neptune right on the ascendant, and that's very glamorous, like Marilyn Monroe. Good for acting, good for any creative pursuits. Delusional, drugs and alcohol as well. Jupiter and Sag in the second house, right? So for voice, Jupiter's domicile in so it's perfect. And good for money and good for singing. Fifth house Pisces, Venus, exalted Venus in the fifth house, great for arts, great for creativity. Sun in the seventh in Taurus, right over the Venus. So her relationships, her ability to connect with the audience, a lot of ego in relationships, but creativity, beauty. Mars in Taurus is stubborn and annoyed and fighty and yeah, not great dignity. Mars is not in good dignity in either one, but her Venus is in great dignity. So a lot of beauty, a lot of aesthetics, a lot of artistry, but her body is not she could suffer poor health and weight gain. Let's see. Moon in Gemini. It's a bit nutty, but eighth house, not great either. Difficult for a moon in eighth house. MC right over Mars. That's interesting. Strong career, I guess, for this debilitated Mars. And what else? 10th, 11th house planets, exalted Saturn. That's quite good in the 11th house. Good for groups and networks and social issues, social awareness. Interesting. Yeah, we'll see. In any case, I think that's it for Lana Del Rey. She heavily criticized, but you know, I think she's going to be with us for a long time. I think she's going to have increased success, and this North Node conjunct Venus is you know, she's going to do, we'll see how it goes, but I think you know, she's going to keep creating a lot of, you know, perhaps, I mean, definitely more music, movies, artistry, like we'll see how it goes. Venus things. Venus is ruling the 12th, so a lot of creativity, right? In seventh house, relationships, personal relationships, business, being on stage, being in front of people. And yeah, this Jupiter as well, second house. So she's going to keep singing and speaking, and fifth house performing. So yeah, very creative. She's an artist for sure, and she's gonna stay. She's here for good. So, and Saturn does get better with age. So perhaps she'll become even more and more iconic as she gets older. But interesting. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit the like button if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below, and let me know if you'd like me to read anyone's chart, and come to my class on Sunday. Just email me, and I will put you on the list. That's it for now. Thanks, bye.